Now let's talk about what happens to your sex drive in menopause and how you can treat your low libido. While there are more than 40 symptoms associated with menopause, the top 5 are hot flashes, insomnia, weight gain, mood swings, and low libido. Today we're going to talk about low libido. Low libido basically means that you have a low sex drive. You no longer desire sex. You don't think about it much. You may not have sex dreams. A low libido means that you not necessarily are inorgasmic. You may be able to orgasm, although you may find that sexual arousal takes a lot longer. If you're like many menopausal women, you may have a low sex drive, but also a slow arousability, and orgasm seems to take forever. And that's because your hormones are out of balance. When your estrogen levels fall, you're not thinking about sex as much. Your partner doesn't smell as enticing to you. You're not finding their touch as enticing. In fact, estrogen helps your skin to stay stimulated. And when your levels fall, your erogenous zones are not as easily stimulated. It takes a lot more stimulus in order to feel aroused. Low estrogen levels in menopause affect your blood flow, and less blood flow to your pelvic organs, to your clitoris, to your vagina, even to your uterus makes sexual arousal much slower, and orgasm takes a lot longer. You have less vaginal lubrication, making your vagina drier, and sex can be painful without artificial lubrication. Now, I like to recommend natural lubricants like coconut oil, but it's still not your own lubricant, and it's still taking longer to orgasm. Now, it's not that you don't want to. It's just harder to get over the hump. And that's because you have a lot less blood flow to your pelvic organs. So how do you treat your low libido? Well, bioidentical hormone replacement therapy can really help with treating low sex drive in menopausal women. And getting your vagina healthier with some Estriol vaginal cream can make a huge difference in how responsive to sex play you are. Better vaginal lubrication makes sex much more comfortable. Sometimes that's all that's needed, a little Estriol vaginal cream. Now, I don't necessarily use testosterone first to raise a menopausal woman's sex drive. I know lots of healthcare providers love to prescribe testosterone for low libido, but for the majority of women, our libido is actually driven by estrogen, not testosterone. So one way you can think of it is that a testosterone-driven sex drive is the need to just orgasm. Not that women don't have the need to just orgasm sometimes, but testosterone is not the main driver of female sex drive. Estrogen fuels our libido. It's estrogen that brings sensual enjoyment to sex. Estrogen drives our need for sensual foreplay, our need to be aroused, our need to be wined and dined, and that's why your falling estrogen levels in menopause can flatten your libido. Now, healthy estrogen levels fuels a woman's sex drive. So getting your estradiol levels up first with bioidentical hormone replacement therapy is key to raising your sex drive. If that's not working and your FSH, your follicle stimulating hormone, is suppressed, meaning it's nice and low on your estrogen therapy, and your vagina is healthy, and you're not having hot flashes, and you're not insomnic, and you're not moody, then you may have enough estrogen on board, so adding a little bit of testosterone might make a difference. In my clinical practice, I've seen women treated with very high doses of testosterone, and yes, their sex drive goes up, but they're also really irritable, they're angry, they grow whiskers that they don't want. So start with estrogen. And remember, you cannot take estrogen without progesterone. Otherwise, you're not protecting tissues against the growth-promoting effects of estrogen. We talk a lot about the best ways to deal with low libido in our hormone support group, which you can access by joining our hormone reboot training. Now, I have found that in my patients who have a low sex drive, that when they support their hypothalamus, their libido returns. Because it's your hypothalamus that controls your sex drive. It controls your reproduction and your willingness and ability to be a sexual being. It controls your dreams and your sense of eroticism. It's vitally important to support your hypothalamus in order to have a very healthy sex drive and healthy sexual experiences like you enjoyed in your youth. Now, a lot of menopausal women will find that they actually have a much better sex life during the change. And the reason is they're no longer afraid of getting pregnant. And they're much more comfortable communicating their needs to their partner. And they're at the point in their life where they're just not as concerned about how they look. They're much more concerned about how they feel. And they're able to really surrender to their sexual experiences. Now, I find that my patients who use Genesis Gold to support their hypothalamus are more likely to have this fuller experience, especially if they've had poor sexual experiences earlier in their life. Balancing their hypothalamus gives them that sense of empowerment over their sexuality. My patients who support their hypothalamus with Genesis Gold also find that their vagina stays a lot juicier and their sex drive is healthy. The vast phytonutrients in Genesis Gold helps increase hormone receptor site receptivity so that it's more sensitive, so those declining estrogen levels are not such a problem. Now check out my next video on more menopause symptoms.